Paint time. More boat. All right, so if you missed us last time, we got most of the base coat done, which is kind of this color you can see on this wood here, kind of a darker, warm gray. It's not as dark as it's going to be, but that's because I haven't put a wash on it yet. Second color is going to be kind of this color here for this wood, which is going to be the main kind of medium color of wood, again, warmer gray. I'm working on the highlight on that, which is also going to be the base coat for areas like this, which are going to be the lightest color of wood, skull, things like that. So those are meant to just kind of be the detail. I'll wash everything in black and then probably end up hitting everything, at least the lighter stuff, with a highlight to bring it back up. So right now I'm just trying to get everything on this side of the boat to start. And I will say again, for people who are not used to live videos and how they work on Facebook, I'd shared this to several groups. If you start commenting on one of those in those groups, I'm not going to see your comment until after it's all done and over. I am trying to keep an eye on the comments that come through, but the only ones that I'll see are the ones that come across on the actual stream itself. So you have to click through to the live stream and then you can comment and then I can see. Feel free to go there and ask questions and such. I'd be more than happy to answer, but if I don't see it, I'm not going to be able to do much. The colors that I'm using are mostly Reaper Master Series paints. I've just kind of gotten used to their triad systems, and it makes it very easy to do like a highlight. You can kind of see right here, this is where the seam between the two pieces is, but since I used heat and kind of molded them together, there's not a whole lot of gap there. Probably maybe see some of the excess glue right here, but it's all kind of a derelict boat. I mean, it's not gonna be a crisp, pristine, new kind of joint, and that's probably just fine. So most of this wood is probably going to end up being my mid-tone. I'm kind of saving the darkest for when the the actual wood grain kind of plank kind of wood. And most of this is probably going to be the mid-tone. I might have some accents, maybe this flat piece here, some of the stuff on this ornate side piece. This rail right here will probably end up being the lightest tone. This right through here, I think all of the kind of detail on the window itself I'll do in metallics. I have a really nice recipe I've used on all of my warjacks for kind of like a rusted out kind of metallic look, and I think it'll be really keen to have on there. And that'll be a good contrast for when I actually add like a glow effect on the inside of that glass. I'll try to leave the metal parts kind of untouched, unpainted, and that'll help out with being a good contrast between the lighter glow and the darker metal. I don't want to get underneath too much of this, even if it's the medium shade of wood. This is all kind of in the shade. So don't want to highlight it up too much before I do the wash. I'll probably do a little bit less bringing it back after the wash hits, but that's just part of the shade. And I'm not going for super high display quality. I'm not even sure if I'm enough of a painter to do that, but high-end tabletop is usually where I aim for pretty much everything. So that's kind of what I'm going for here. I start traveling off camera, feel free to yell at me in the comments. I'll probably see that before I see where the camera's pointed. Maybe I can actually try to read people's comments and questions before answering them, because that'll make more sense if you're viewing this video later and it's not on a live stream. Idea. And I imagine that it won't be super exciting and fun to watch me just paint this areas until I start getting into things like glow effects, and I understand that. But this way, if people ask me, how did you paint it? Guess what? I have video proof. Just hit all these right now and get them taken care of. I'll probably have glow coming through these, because why not? That looks like something that might glow magical on a gigantic floating resurrected boat piece, half. Haven't done the research yet to figure out when I'm going to paint the barnacles. We'll get there. They came off like a pinkish, maybe. I don't want to be too close to the Soul Wave, which is going to be kind of a purplish pink, but definitely the inside of these are going to glow. Might not try to get the inside of this part, I'm not sure. That might be a bit too much. You don't want to overdo it. Otherwise it looks like it's just a big purple boat. Got to decide what metal accents I'm going to do as well. I'm kind of hoping that I can get this color done, and then the lightest highlight should be brief because it should only be on certain areas. And, oh, that's a little thick right there. A little thinner on the layer. And then I can start basing the metals, which is always kind of exciting because I use a alcohol-based paint, and that stuff base coats like crazy. It's like painting with silver leaf. The Vallejo Liquid Metals series. Honestly, this piece is so big and I haven't painted for a couple of days. I got to keep checking the other side to see what I did on it. Don't want them to be too different from side to side. I'll just hit the top part of this, leave that there without extra lighter paint. Start getting some of these plate kind of looking things here. And this bit here, that'll be the lightest trim. So this color I'm using right now is a heavy mix of golden blonde and rainy gray. A little heavier on the golden blonde on this one than on the previous tans. Starting to build up more toward an actual tan color, and the black wash will bring that down. There's these rivets, a lot of my lighter colors getting in there and kind of making that pop the way it shouldn't. It's kind of backward, but I'm honestly not too worried about it because I'm going to wash it, and that black wash is going to settle right down into that kind of empty hole where there should be a rivet or peg or whatever these are supposed to be. Darken that right back. Another one there. It's kind of a nice touch on the sculptor's part to make some of these rivets like intentionally missing. I'll probably do these windows jams in the lighter tan, the lightest kind of wood color too. I don't want to overdo it near the skulls. I want them to be kind of focal points, so a lot of this right here won't, where maybe I would otherwise make it lighter. Don't want to be too timid with this layer. Definitely a stamina you have to build up for holding something this heavy and large for so long. Try to be careful not to get too much paint down in the crevices of this. I want the shadows of the skull to stay nice and shadowed. I know the wash will do a lot of it, but it's definitely going to come up lighter before I'm done, and then wash it, and then I'll bring it back up from the wash. I don't think I got up here on the other side, so I'll double back for that. I'm pretty much done with this side part of the boat, so now I'm kind of moving up to the top here. Mix some more of this up soon. Starting to thin out too much. These I'll do those in metal. They're small enough. I don't want to overdo the metal. Like I mentioned on the last time I was painting, I was originally thinking about doing all of these plates in metal, but I think it'll just be too much. I think I want to keep it primarily wood. Use metal as a slighter accent. Mix up some more. This paint's getting thin. Give my hand a rest too. nice thing about the Reaper paints is they do come with a little agitator in them, just like a little metal skull out of that white metal. Kind of nice touch. Thin it some, mix it up. I think I have more gray than that in there. My last layer is going to look a lot more like that was before. Yeah, that's pretty close. Side here. I always tell people you want your paint to be about the consistency of like skim milk. Any thicker than that and it's just going to show the brush strokes or just be super thick in general. Won't have any kind of layer blend effect. Maybe for base coating, like detail that you really don't care, but even then you don't want to get too much in that detail either. Clog it up. You don't want to have it pooling too much either. I got a little bit of that going on, and when that dries, it's going to kind of leave like a watermark ring. Just going to take some of that back off. Spread it around. Up the edges of all these little plates here. The wash is going to get down in there anyhow. Liquid skill. Just run your brush along the edge of raised up detail like that. And just pick right up right off your brush. Kind of like a wet dry brush. Just hit the raised areas. isn't the best. Back here it's got a lot of overhang. I think I got some of this the other day. Might be my mid-tone though. Not this highlight color, that'll be it for those. Certainly got a very ethereal kind of look with the warm gray. Other skull. Take most of the paint off the brush so it doesn't get down in there and too much on there so it wicks down in. That rope will probably get painted a lot more tannish brown without the gray in it, more vibrant. Make it pop a heck of a lot more than this muted gray it does. Since my process for painting the metals involves a black wash as well, I'll probably wait to wash the wood until I'm ready to wash everything on it. Alright, now this thing's going to get the same treatment as the skulls. Going to build it up a lot with this color and then the next one. And then wash it and then bring it back up again. because this thing should just pop at the back of the boat. I might even have the eye sockets on this thing low. I think that might be kind of cool. It's not right next to any of the other glowing items. Make that a focal point on the back. Background of that will be the darkest wood, the border will be the medium, and then the symbol itself will be the lightest. So every time I pick up some paint, I just wick a little bit off on the paper towel. Someone once told me that you can never have paint too thin, but you can absolutely have too much of it on your brush. Take that to heart, it's good advice. Paint the tops of these steps, the medium wood. Leave there's no detail on the face of them, the return, the riser, but I'll still leave that the dark color. Make these look more like steps and not just a blob from a distance. The inside of these railings too. Alright, underside. Maybe I'll pick up just a little bit. It's going to stay real dark down here. But the front, I might just get this first one here with a little bit where the wave wouldn't quite be hitting it so much, and it might get a little bit of light from not being completely underneath everything else. Not a whole lot. And the black will bring that down, and I probably won't re-highlight all that stuff either. The door. I don't think I did anything with my mid-tone on this, just the base. That's kind of stark. But honestly, at this point, I really don't mind it. Kind of highlights it out. stair. Bit of trim right there that this piece intentionally seems to cover. It's bag material. Pops that out. And the mast. Some of this detail here, but the rest of it's going to stay pretty dark, beaten. Once again, I'll say if anyone makes any comments and it's in where I shared it, I'm not going to see it until after I'm done. If you want me to answer a question or whatever, make sure you click through to the actual live stream, the public live stream I'm streaming this from. I should be able to see your comment from there. Alright, get around the base of this. Accent that up too. And the base of these grates. We'll keep that the medium wood. Don't need it popping too much. The grates themselves will just hit with the silver tone metallic. I actually considered at one point just drilling through this because there's grates on the underside too, so that you can see all the way through it. But I didn't get that ambitious. I decided that was a bit too much. I wouldn't be surprised to see some people doing that though. It just would be pretty thick. I mean, by the time you get to the top to the bottom here, it's like a good 1/4 inch. And in scale, that would be like having like a couple inch wide bar that's like 6 inches deep. All right, I think the last thing I really need to hit with this color is going to be the steering wheel here, the ship wheel. We'll probably keep most of that the mid-tone, except I'll probably highlight to the lightest, the same as the skulls, all of the points here. And I'll probably keep the cross beams there without any further highlight, so it kind of looks like the darker wood. And keep the actual wheel itself along with the support for it, the mid-tone wood. I'm not the kind of guy who plans out everything before I go if it's not painstakingly obvious by now. Just kind of flow with it. You'll end in a place that you like. Nothing against anyone who likes to use color charts and all that. It's just not me. See if anything jumps out at me as being too dark still. I think that's pretty good. So I think that's it for that color. Now we'll mix up our highlight for the lightest areas of wood, which will be a smaller area, and that's probably a lot quicker. So here I'm going to start with this golden blonde again. But this time I won't add a ton of gray. It'll be mostly this golden blonde, very, very light kind of tan color. I'm just going to mute it down a little bit with this misty gray, which is like a very, very light gray, neutral. Just a little bit of that. Take the edge off that yellowish tint. Some of my clean water. I got a paint tin for dirty and a paint tin for clean. Really tan that one, but that's fine. It's an accent color. It's going to blend in anyhow because I'm not making it super thick. It's going to layer up. Maybe get a bit of this piece right here. Let's finish out this trim down here. Too distractible. Just trying to be careful not to get it where I don't want it to go. This is meant to be like an accent highlight. And after I wash, I'm probably going to come back with this and go right back over it and bring it back up to this. And this will pop even more because everything else around it will be darker. Maybe a stripe here. And here. Just try to get this middle one. Give that a little more definition. Get my cat in the frame. Say hi, cat. Cat doesn't speak. All right, I want to be real careful about doing everything in through here. Like I was thinking about starting to get some up here, and I'm like, well, no, I need to make that skull pop. I want to make that a good visual highlight on the area of the ship, so maybe we'll retain this for that part up here. Not do anything in this area over here. Cat got shy and ran off real quick. Now that pops a little more. Same reason I'm probably not going to go back over this door. Like I said, I think I missed a area of that highlighting it up anyhow, so this already is going to have enough pop on that door. I think these are far enough away though. Hit the top of this, and then maybe this rim right here. Trim right here. I think that'll look nice, highlight it up a little more. Probably just touch on these splines. Oop. I'm the kind of guy who rests my finger on the mini as I'm painting for stability, and every once in a while you put it down where it's still wet. Go back and touch it up. These are so thin, I don't think they're really going to distract from that. And if anything, your eye gets drawn up by it toward that piece, so. Now on the back here, I definitely don't want to use this lighter color on this area because I want your eye to go toward this piece up here, this Raven Mane kind of sigil logo. So now I'm just going to hit a lot with the side of the brush and leave the shadow areas shadowed. Her own little skull and crossbones. Looks like it's like a cow skull. Some kind of critter. Dragon skull, maybe? Question mark? People up with the lore more than me can answer that one. It's a wet palette, but that just means it doesn't dry underneath it. Still got a surface. You gotta add a little bit of water too. Every now and then, keep it the right consistency. Remind myself of what I hit with this. Try to keep it symmetrical between the two sides. Not too worried about getting right up next to this piece here because there should be a little bit of shadow there anyway. And a little bit of resin damage here from when it was shipped. Probably got damaged along with the chips there and there. Looks like there's a little bit of a gap in there. Oh well, it's a derelict ship. It's damaged. Some people are probably going to add even more. I'm not that bold for a piece this big and expensive, but I'm sure some people would love to do that. Again, avoiding up here these splines. Bring them out a little as they blend right in. All right, let's get that skull. Make that thing pop. Another reason I don't want to go too heavy with this lighter color up here is I want the, at that point your eyes should be looking at the actual figures, the raiders. Doesn't need to be caught up by the boring boat compared to them. Certainly not going to use any of this lighter color on the underdeck areas. I want that dark, dark, dark until I add my glows. I think I'll hit these two, bring them up just a bit. Catch your eye from the back, it's far enough away from everything. Just brush on this. It's kind of underneath, but all right. Oh, I gotta get the steering, the wheel, ship wheels. I'm gonna make the, put a little bit of this on the actual wheel pegs. Maybe just a hint of it up here. to worry about hitting your hand by accident. That's going to get repainted later. On the other side. Okay. Second angle showing me some spots in the skull I didn't hit. A little bit of a second coat on them just because I want them to pop even more. And after I do my wash, I'll bring them back up again. There we go. All right, switch gears. Metal. Don't need a wet palette for this. Liquid metal from Vallejo. If it gets water in it, will actually start to rust. It uses actual metal flake on the inside of this stuff. It settles really bad. I actually put a glass bead in there. Start shaking that up. So, don't use your brush that you use for water. I've heard of people who dip their brush in water, put it in the paint, and don't even realize it, and then the next time they come, they have a big old red stain in the bottom from the rust of the metal. So I actually use a completely different brush that I just use for metallic metals. Right there. Isopropyl alcohol is what you use to thin it. I use 91%. Haven't had any issues with that. So I'll set my water aside so I don't accidentally dip into that. Keep my wet palette closed. Get some isopropyl alcohol. Like I said, this stuff paints on like gold leaf or silver leaf. You will not get to blend at all with this. It will just base coat. That is it. But I used to put 2 or 3 or 4 layers of silver coat on to stop myself from seeing brush strokes. Make it super thin. Metal flake dilutes down in acrylic paint. I'm telling you, this stuff is magic for base coating. All right. So what do we want metal? Put a little bit of that in here. Thin it just a touch. Also looks really super pretty as it swirls around in there. But anyway. So you kind of see how well this stuff goes on. Kind of scrape the bottom of it. It does have particulate in it that settles in this binding medium. Cat. I'm not going to pick out all the rivets with this yet. They're small enough of an area that I'm not too concerned. And honestly, if I get this stuff too thin and it runs down into the inside of this where I'm going to add my glow later, I'm not too concerned about that either. Get these grades. But you can see like one coat done for a base coat with this stuff. You can paint over it just fine once it dries. You don't have to worry about it rusting on your model or anything like that. Not a lot of huge areas with this, which is by design. I decided not to do those big plates on the side, but still going to hit a lot of the middle areas. I'll come back and paint the Satixis separately So I'm not going to worry about getting their swords and stuff. Maybe I'll just get one right now so you can kind of see how it goes on. So kind of close up on that sword, but it's just like silver. Boom. Dries flat and thin. So that's my sales pitch for the day. Let's do these bands. These bands would be good being metal. I've also been told not to paint straight out of the pot with this stuff. Put it in something, because if you leave the pot open, since it uses alcohol as a thinning medium, alcohol dries in the air very, very fast. And I'm told that you'll end up with just a big chunky mess in there. Honestly, kind of came that way when I first started with it. Just kind of a big chunky mess. Now I have to decide. I think this should be metal too. Some bands of iron go around there. Trying not to get it up on my wood. You can see I did get a little bit there. But a lot of that's going to get covered up by the wash when it washes, and then I can just put the wood color right back over it. So my process for metal is to start with this as a base coat. Then I thin down a very dark metal. I use, what's the name of it? Shadowed Steel by Reaper, and kind of use that almost as a very thick kind of wash so that only the very top ends of the recesses stay the lighter silver. Alright, all this stuff in here is going to be... And then once that dries, I put on dabs here and there of a dark bronze. I think it's Ancient Bronze is the name of the paint from Reaper. And then wash the whole thing with black. And it just kind of ties everything together. You see the splotches of bronze through the black. And it just gives this really cool kind of rusted look. It's actually a recipe I got from a local guy here who's way better than me, named Tom Back. Used to play War Machine, doesn't anymore, now plays Infinity. Basically commission paints for a living. Again, I'm not going to hit all these little rivets right now with this. I'm not going to do that whole process for that. I'm just going to hit that with that Shadowed Steel and maybe then the black wash after. So I'll probably do that before I wash this whole thing with black. Right now I'm just kind of laying the foundation for all of the metal in what would kind of be like a stained glass look, but it'll all end up just being purple glow. Not too worried about getting it down on the actual surface of where the glow will be, because glow will cover it up. You gotta be a little careful with this and not flick either. It will splatter. I've done quite a bit of quick brushing with this kind of paint just to find that everywhere on the Mini had little tiny splatters of silver. Kind of jumps out at you. I'll have to be really careful when I'm doing my glows not to get it on the face of this stuff. I'm going to try to make the inside of the wood glow and then the edges, but I want to try to keep the face of these metallic and dark for contrast to the glow. This band, it's silver. I've heard that they'd first developed this stuff, this liquid silver, liquid gold, for restoration of like old architectural details that were leafed. A few different colors of it. There's only a couple silvers, unfortunately. I wish they had like a really dark silver that I could use to base coat. All they have is this liquid silver, and they have one that's even brighter called liquid white gold or something like that. A white gold, liquid gold. But they don't have a dark one. That's fine, it still works fine as a base coat. The golds, they have, I don't know, dozens. Not that's an exaggeration, probably more like, ooh, hey, check that out. See, I got a whole bunch of it right up there with my brush. So if you catch it quick, sometimes you can use the isopropyl alcohol and try to take that off without eating up too much of your paint. I'm gonna have to go back over that in a bit. Oops. Fix that later. All right, what else was I going to do? Metal. That detail there. I think these will look good in metal. So now I'm being a little more careful because I really don't want to get this down on that wood I painted earlier. Luckily, when it's raised up and I only have to barely touch it with the brush, it's not quite so bad. I'm not worried about getting it on the rope too much. That'll paint over. Those will stay wood. Down there, that'd be a good spot for metal too. Make the band up there with this band down here. Almost looks like bent metal down here too. Where this kind of soul wave crashes up through it. Kind of reinforces my idea of making this metal. The sculptor intended it, perhaps. these over on this side. I'll probably do another layer of metal on the Cryx, obviously, when I get to them. Probably paint them before I paint the glows, though they're not really near any of them, but still. I always do glows pretty much last. I'm gonna paint the rocks on the base before I paint the glows, so I can get a little bit of glow in the water around them. Worked pretty well when I did that on the Bane Knights around their hooves. All right. And honestly, I think that'll be enough metal on the boat. I think these studs kind of coming up off the railing would be wood. I'm gonna have obviously a lot of little nails to pick out, rivets and things, but I want to keep most of the details on it wood. Okay. All right. Since I'm done with that, I'll put that away. Try to reuse this stuff as much as I can. Make a lot go a long way. And that goes back in. See all this actual paint flake on there. I'll put a little isopropyl alcohol in that, so it doesn't set. Put that aside rather than go and washing them right away. So where I'm not going to bump it. Lid on this. Actually, grab a second, throw it over the top of it so it doesn't dry. I think it's the end of the world if I have to buy a new 25-cent plastic cup. It's Vallejo liquid silver, to answer the question from Ben here, which says what company makes it. The other one I use a lot is Green Gold. This is Green Gold liquid gold by Vallejo as well. I love using this with like a wash over it of camo shade, and just gives it that dirty gold look. And I'm done with the gold after I do that. Hope Ben was still watching. Didn't miss his question too much. All right. So I gotta hit that one spot that I screwed up with the silver real quick, and then I can go to the next layer on the metal. You're welcome. It is a little difficult to use just because, like I said, you cannot blend it. You have to use alcohol. You cannot use water to thin. But for a base coat, it's just amazing. Covers with one layer, done. Let's try to blend this in just a little bit here. All right, so on we move. Next, shadowed steel. I don't know what happened to my paints, but they have all seemed to separate over the past couple months, and they're in an area. Feel free, I mean, it might be too deep, but you can see there, it's on the top, it's on the bottom. I'm pretty sure they'll line up. It might be kind of neat to see down there into the lower deck if you do any kind of glow effect on the inside there, but so this is shadowed steel. It's a very dark. It's not like a gunmetal quite, but it's pretty dark silver. I paint the tops. Just lets me see what they are and grab one at a glance. This is just a more of a standard metallic color. So I typically water this down pretty good. And then put it on without being too shy about wiping it off. And that's just going to bring that metal down a bit. That is true. I think you had talked about casting in a clear resin and then putting LEDs in there. Having light actually come up through there would be cool. Well, that's my cue. Kids coming home. So I'm gonna pack up. I'll do more of this metal next time. Maybe later tonight, we'll see. All right, bye everyone.